What's good, everybody? I'm BPC and welcome to Competitive Origins MMA. Well, the Haitian Sensation Neil Magny faced off against the Maverick Michael Chiesa at UFC Fight Night on Fight Island at the Etihad Arena. Now, originally this was supposed to be the co-main event, but the main event had to be rescheduled due to Chimaev not being able to recover in time from COVID to face off against Leon Rocky Edwards. Now, Michael Chiesa came in as the underdog, even though he was the 8th ranked fighter in the welterweight division. While we have the Haitian Sensation, who was the favorite and was ranked number 9. Now, Michael Chiesa, there were questions about him. There was wondering, or people were wondering, was he going to have the cardio to fight at the pace and grind as he likes to do in his fights over the course of 5 rounds? And by the end of the fight, we had our answer. Now, the fight started out on their feet, and we thought that, maybe Neil Magny was going to utilize his 4-inch reach advantage and kind of keep Michael Chiesa off of him. But, they would clinch, and then Michael Chiesa would get the takedown. Sometimes there'd be a little bit of scrambling, and, this happened through round 1, and then it continued on through round 2. It was almost frustrating to watch Neil Magny kind of lay there, and they would go at it and just the scramble. It was just move, let's light the fire under your pants, get some more movement, man, do something. Now, obviously, this has to be because of Michael Chiesa's grappling skills. We can't just say that Neil Magny didn't want it or whatever. There has to be a reason why he just couldn't scramble. And obviously, Michael Chiesa just happened to be the better grappler, and his scrambling was just on point. Well, after round 1 finished and after round 2 finished, waiting for round 3 to start, I think Michael Chiesa was focusing more on subscribing to Competitive Origins MMA. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscription button and click the notification bell so you can be notified as soon as these videos go live. Well, I said that because when the 3rd round started, the Haitian Sensation realized he needed to bring the fight to Michael Chiesa. And that's exactly what he did. They started to clinch, they started to grapple, and then he was able to lift Michael Chiesa up and slam him down on the ground. Now, Michael Chiesa was quick to try to pop back up, and Neil Magny was not having that and pulled him right back down to the ground. Now, this was more of the highlights for, Neil Magny. It was like, all right, we're going to see a little bit more competition here. It's going to be a little bit more competitive than what we saw in the 1st and 2nd round. But it wasn't until in the middle of that round till the tide started to turn. They were back on their feet, a little bit of a striking exchange. And then what happens? It's a takedown, a little bit of a scramble, and then basically we have Michael Chiesa in the dominant position once again. Now, I did give that round to Neil Magny. I did feel he did enough in that 3rd round to get the win for that round. So basically, I had seen it 2-1 going into the 4th round. Well, the 4th round was a lot like the 1st and the 2nd round. Michael Chiesa was able to, throw a punch, and then he level changed and took Neil Magny back down to the ground, and he really just basically controlled that round. Now, in the 5th round, we all knew that if Michael Chiesa wanted to get the victory, he just basically, had to avoid getting knocked out or submitted. That's basically all he had to do. The Haitian Sensation realized that was what he was going to have to do if he was going to get the victory. And it started out, and, Michael Chiesa was doing a lot of moving around. And some people were starting to speculate, was he tired? But for somebody that's doing a lot of movement, is he really that tired? And I was thinking that maybe he was just trying to coast to a victory at first because of all the movement. But then a couple strikes, later, and then he's going for the takedown. And, like the same as before, he just had so much control time throughout the entire fight. And he continued it on through this 5th round. This guy has a lot of endurance, and, here we're thinking that the Haitian Sensation was going to be the one with the better cardio. And it looks like the Maverick was able to match his cardio. Now, after that, they went to the scorecards, and the referees, or I should say the judges, ruled it 49-46 in favor of Michael Chiesa, which means they give Neil Magny 1 round, which is basically how I saw it, and the other 4 rounds to Michael Chiesa. My suggestion for Michael Chiesa, even though he did try to get multiple submission attempts, is that he has to be able to learn how to finish his guys. If he's able to finish his guys, it's going to boost his popularity up a lot quicker, get him a lot more fans, and have the UFC consider him more for these bigger fights. Now, he does have a victory over RDA, he does have a victory over Neil Magny now, you know what I mean? And if he were to get some of these more, if he were to able to finish his people more rather than, grind it out like he did, like look at Khabib Nurmagomedov. He was able to make Conor McGregor submit. He was able to make, Dustin Poirier submit. And he was able to make, Justin Gaethje submit. And he's a grappler, you know what I mean? So people love that, they got the finish that they wanted to see at the end of the day, and then you have this newcomer, Khamzat Chimaev, who his first 2 fights in the UFC, he was able to take these guys down to the ground and get, a victory off this, and then of course he got a knockout in this 3rd round, in this 3rd fight. But this is what Michael Chiesa is going to need to do if he wants to build up his popularity. Like I said, he's got the victory over RDA, he got the victory over Neil Magny. So what's next for him? Well, it turns out he was smart on it, and he called out Colby Chaos Covington. Now, that's a really interesting fight because Colby loves to wrestle, so that would be a nice matchup between 2 wrestlers. But the only difference between the 2 is that Colby also does a lot of striking. He's a volume striker, doesn't have a lot of power behind the striking, but he will throw down if need be. Just check out the Robbie Lawler fight. He threw a lot. When it came against another wrestler, Kamaru Usman, the champion, they both just struck the whole fight. It was almost like they're wrestling, they both knew that they were really good wrestlers, so it wasn't even worth wasting the energy to try to take each other down. Usman realized he was the more powerful striker, so he just relied on his power. Colby tried to use, his striking ability, his output, and at the end of the day, Usman got the victory. So how would this fight go between the 2 individuals? Go into the comment section below and let me know how you think a matchup between Colby Chaos Covington versus the Maverick Michael Chiesa would go. Would it be just a striking match? Do you think Michael Chiesa would try to grind it out and try to wrestle him? Do you even think he has better wrestling than Colby Covington? Go into the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you saw this fight, tell me how you scored the rounds as well. Go to competitiveorigins.com, type in promo code MMA58 so you can get 10% off this Competitive Origins Whatever It Takes t-shirt. Thank you for tuning in today, guys. I'm BPC, and remember, you've been competing since conception. Whether you're competing against yourself or others, Competitive Origins.